Hi, Andy XL back with the latest NFXL podcast and the latest state of the franchise address as I work through the 32 NFL teams. We're into the last season's playoff teams now. Having done the Carolina Panthers, I now move on to the Green Bay Packers. Now, Green Bay made the postseason as a wild card, but were then sent packing by the Bears in round one. In what is sure to be an uber tough division in 2026, what do they need to do to win the NFC North, make the postseason, and go further than they did last season? Having given up their 2026 first round pick as part of the deal to get Micah Parsons, and having little cap space to work with at the moment, unless they create some by restructuring contracts, finding improvement in key areas may be tough this off-season, but what do they need to prioritise? Well, quarterback starts with that. No need to give this much attention, though. Jordan Love will be their quarterback for 2026, following a season where he threw a league low 6 interceptions and led the Packers' 14th ranked pass offense. Backup Malik Willis played well when covering for Love and will be one of the sought after free agent quarterbacks, so it seems likely the Panthers could be looking for a new backup to Love this off-season. At running back, the Packers ranked 13th for run offense last season. Josh Jacobs will be back and Emmanuel Wilson performed well as his backup. Wilson's an exclusive right free agent that the Packers need to lock up, though. But again, the Packers look set there at running back for 2026, certainly in the starter position. Wide receiver, the Packers used a bunch of wide receivers last season. Romeo Dubes, Christian Watson, Matthew Golden, Dontavian Wicks, and Jaden Reed were the principal ones. They also have Bo Melton and rookie Savion Williams to add to that quintet. Watson missed 7 games last season. Reed missed 10, and both Golden and Wicks missed time too, as did Savion Williams. If those guys can stay healthy next season, then they could decide to let last year's leader in receiving yards and touchdowns, Romeo Dubes, leave. But that is going to be a tough call for them to make. But they do need to create some cap space potentially. So, trying to get him on a bigger contract might be tough. Regardless, apart from making that call, there is no need for the Packers to add at wide receiver this offseason. Even if Dubes leads, they've got plenty of other options there after all. But if there is any way they can bring him back, Romeo Dubes, that is, they should do. Right, tight end. Tucker Kraft and Luke Musgrave gave the Packers what they needed at tight end last season, although losing Kraft in week 8 was a major blow as he was their leading receiver at that point. A full season from Kraft next season would boost the Packers' pass offense ranking and make them a top 10 passing offense. And what about the O-line? Well, they allowed just 29 sacks, and only 21 of those of Jordan Love. Shows this O-line was really good in pass protection last season, and it's pretty good in support of the run game too. Elton Jenkins graded 7th among centres for pass production, although he missed half the season. Guards Sean Ryan, Aaron Banks, and Anthony Belton were not as good though, whilst right tackle Zach Tom was a top 10 tackle according to PFF. Rashid Walker was not ranked as highly by PFF and will come at a cost to retain for next season. He and Sean Ryan are now free agents, and both may be allowed to walk as cap casualties. As a result, left tackle and an interior O lineman may be needed as replacements. Now, like I say, the Packers have no first round pick, so using their second, third, and fourth is going to be wisely is going to be really important for them. Let's move on to the defense. The Packers ranked sixth defensive tackle. Let's start with that. The Packers ranked 16th against the run and 12th against the pass. Devontae Wyatt, Colby Wooden, and Carl Brooks were their defensive tackles last season. Brooks covered for the 7 games Wyatt's missed, but losing Wyatt for those games hurt the Packers. Wooden played okay, but this is an area where there's room for improvement next season. Obviously, getting Wyatt back would be part of that. Um, on the edge. The Packers totaled just 36 sacks last season, 20 of them coming from Micah Parsons and Rashawn Gary, who also accounted for 47 of the 106 quarterback hits recorded by the Packers last season. So pretty much a two-man show. Lucas Van Ness missed 8 games and Kingsley Enagbare had a quietish contract year. So he's another free agent question the Packers have to answer and could be another casualty. If he's not re-signed, he will need replacing, and given his modest numbers, that could well be the case. Although rumours about Rashawn Gary being released have swirled recently, their GM seems to suggest the opposite, though. I think the Packers really need to keep both Gary and Enagbare, but I would still not rule out the Packers from adding in this area, even if they do. Inside linebacker, Quay Walker and Edgerrin Cooper were the Packers' starting inside linebackers last season. Cooper had a strong season and Walker was decent too. Walker is a free agent though, and again could be another cap casualty. They really are in cap problems here, so they're going to have to choose wisely, as they say, as to what to do with that. Isaiah McDuffie had a decent season too, and could be tasked with filling the gap any gap left by Walker. But they could also look to draft an inside linebacker. Safety, Xavier McKinney and Evan Williams were both ranked highly by PFF last season and were both signed up for 2026. This is one area there's no significant need, certainly, for the Packers this off-season. Cornerback, Keyshawn Nixon, Carrington Valentine and Javon Bullard at nickel all performed decently last season. Valentine came in as cover for Nate Hobbs. So the Packers are really well equipped in this area, but if an opportunity came up to take a cornerback on day 2 of the draft that they like, they could be wise to take it. Special teams, kicker Brandon McManus had an indifferent season and has to be a cut candidate considering the Packers' cap situation. Daniel Whelan had a really strong year punting the ball though. If Bo Melton is not re-signed at wide receiver, Savion Williams may well take up the kick return duties next season. Right, to sum up the Packers then, they have a number of key free agency decisions to make, and how they balance that cap situation is going to be crucial for them, and in how they find room to retain as many assets as possible. And then how they replace those they cannot retain will be crucial. And that's where I say that second, third, and fourth draft picks, they're really going to have to nail them if they are even to be as good as they were last season. The O-line will be a prime example of this, whilst defensive tackle and edge could be areas where they look to upgrade at. They could also look at inside linebacker and cornerback in the same way, whilst Romeo Doubs at wide receiver is another free agency big call they have to make. A new kicker could well be on the cards too. So O and D line are going to be the key areas to look at if the Packers are to stay at the same level or improve next season. But it's not going to be easy for them to do so. Now, I've already done pieces along these lines for the Detroit Lions, who I think will be better next season, and the Minnesota Vikings, which I'm more skeptical about. And those two teams plus the Packers are, after all, they're all chasing the Bears who won the division last season. So they're going to need to improve, because I think the Bears might get better again too, but I'll come back to them when I get round to their piece. But so I'm middling on the Packers' prospects for next season at the moment, but they certainly need a strong off season if they're to challenge to win that division next time around. So that's it for the Packers. Pretty brief on that, because it's quite easily explained, to be honest. Not that I want to spend less time on them. So next up for me in these going through all 32 teams will be episode 21, which will be the Pittsburgh Steelers, and then episode 22, the LA Chargers. And I'm going to hope to get those both out today. So I hope you enjoyed that one and look forward to the next ones. I'll see you soon.